الله الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة يا مظلوم يا غريب يا شهيد كربلاء يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولا تهنوا ولا تحزنوا وأنتم الأعلون إن كنتم مؤمنين. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. In the last year and more, we have seen a vicious war against the people of Gaza, our brothers and sisters in Palestine. And we saw a vicious war in the past 2 months taking place in southern Lebanon against our brothers and sisters in Beirut and in Lebanon. Thousands have been killed. In Gaza alone, over 43,000 killed, mostly women and children. In Lebanon, only in the past 2 months, over 3,000 killed, thousands of homes destroyed, thousands of buildings, and millions that have been displaced. They have left their homes, they have left their country, and they've been displaced. And on top of all of this, we have seen the demise and death and assassination of some of our most beloved leaders, icons for freedom fighting. We have lost some of the best in our community, from the larger Shi'i community. And we cannot help but feel sad and depressed over the loss of these legends, these icons, whom we grew up looking up to them, fighting for justice and fighting for freedom and fighting for honor and dignity. We can't help but feel depressed and sad. We can't help but lose hope in the future of the Shia in the region. What will happen to the Shia? What will happen in the future to our communities in Iraq, in Lebanon, in Iran, in Syria, in Yemen? What does the future have in stake for us? We have to understand something, my dear brothers and sisters. First off, we have to understand something. As painful as it is to lose our leaders and our icons and our legends and our role models, they have achieved martyrdom and shahada. This was their greatest aspiration. This was their greatest goal. Did you ever assume that these leaders that we lost, they would die from cancer or in a car accident? This was the path that they drew for themselves. This was their greatest aspiration and goal, to achieve martyrdom and to follow the footstep of Imam al-Hussein salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. They achieved what they've been waiting for, their aspiration and their goal, and their spirits will live. Yes, we have lost them physically, but their spirits will live with us forever. As long as we live, we will be inspired and motivated by these legends and icons that sacrificed their life for the sake of dignity and honor. Allah says, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. Do not assume that these men and women, those who sacrificed their lives for the sake of Islam, they're dead. No, they're not dead. بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ. They're alive. عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ فَرِحِينَ بِمَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهِ. They are satisfied. They are happy with what has happened and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has destined for them. Yes, we feel sad. We feel sad because we miss them. We need them. We miss their presence. But as for themselves, these leaders, they've achieved shahada. They are happy. فَرِحِينَ بِمَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ وَيَسْتَبْشِرُونَ بِالَّذِينَ لَمْ يَلْحَقُوا بِهِمْ أَلَّا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. And it's as if they tell those who are also waiting in line for martyrdom that have no fear, have nothing to worry about, have nothing to fear. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will provide you with bliss and harmony and peace and happiness. وَيَسْتَبْشِرُونَ بِنِعْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَفَضْلٍ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Do not think that Allah will forsake any of His servants and believers. These icons, those who served, those who fought for honor and dignity and for the honor of their people for over 30 years and 40 years, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah will not let their reward go unrecorded. Yes, we miss them. We miss their presence. We are in need of them. These are men who made an agreement with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There was a business transaction between them and Allah. They sold their souls to Allah. They sold their dunya for an akhirah. إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَى مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَنفُسَهُم. Allah says, Allah has bought from the mu'mineen their souls, their dunya, for what? For an akhirah. وَأَمْوَالَهُمْ بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. They sacrifice their life here in dunya, but they have a reward in Jannah. With what condition? يُقَاتِلُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ فَيَقْتُلُونَ وَيُقْتَلُونَ. That they fight for the sake of Allah. And they shall kill, and they shall be killed. Because this is how it works. Those who sell themselves for the sake of Allah and have made a business transaction, believe me, my dear brothers and sisters, any business transaction can be a success and can be a failure. But when it's with Allah, it's always a success. It's always a successful business transaction. يقاتلون في سبيل الله فيقتلون ويقتلون وعدا عليه حقا في التوراة والإنجيل والقرآن ومن أوفى بعهده من الله فاستبشروا ببيعكم الذي بايعتم به. Allah says, be happy with the business transaction that you performed with Allah. You bought, you sold, and Allah bought. Be happy with what you sold, because Allah is the buyer. Allah bought you for the sake of heaven. These men, they bought their souls, they bought their dunya for akhirah, not for something petty, but for akhirah, to be remembered forever. من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه. These are men that were true to themselves, true to their communities, true to their people. Look at the difference between mu'mineen and kuffar. A mu'min stands in his land, doesn't hide, doesn't go leave, doesn't leave the country. He stands with his people, knowing that he will be massacred and that he will be killed, but he stands. He faces the enemy because they're inspired by Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Hussein never left the battlefield, and so too his followers, those who follow his footsteps, don't leave the battlefield. Although they know that their life is in danger, they don't go into hiding. They stand in the middle of the battlefield till the last moment. But look at the cowards who run away, who hide in bunkers. These are cowards. This is a difference between mu'mineen and cowardly kuffar. You see, my dear friends, sometimes victory requires martyrdom. Victory sometimes requires martyrdom. Sometimes it's the only way, it's the only path towards victory, that blood has to be offered. The same way that Imam Hussein alayhi salam offered his blood for the sake of Allah, but in return for what? Divine victory. Imam Hussein was victorious. Sometimes victory requires martyrdom for this sake. Martyrdom is not the end, my dear friends. Martyrdom is only the beginning. Again, we feel sad and we feel depressed for mourning our leaders, for mourning the martyrs and the shuhada. But this is a new beginning. Sometimes an ummah is born from martyrdom. It is the beginning of an ummah. It is the birth of a nation when the leaders offer themselves in sacrifice and they reach martyrdom. Nothing inspires like martyrdom. Why is it that so many men have come and went, kings, emperors, philosophers, scholars, but there's one individual who continues to inspire year after year, and it's as if he was killed yesterday? Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Imam al-Hussein's offering, his inspiration and motivation increases year after year, year after year. It's as if he was killed a year ago, 2 years ago. Who imagines that Imam Hussein was killed 14 centuries ago, 1,400 years ago? Because martyrdom inspires, martyrdom motivates. It is not the end, it is only the beginning. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised victory. Allah promises victory to the believers. We should not doubt this. That victory comes to the believers. Victory comes to those who stand their ground and hold their ground. وَكَانَ حَقًّا عَلَيْنَا نَصْرُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. It is a right upon us, the right of the believers, that we stand by them and we support them. Yes, this doesn't happen overnight. This doesn't happen miraculously within a night. It requires patience. It requires patience. إِنَّا لَنَنصُرُ رُسُلَنَا وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. We shall support our messengers and those who believe in this dunya before the next. وَيَوْمَ يَقُومُ الْأَشْهَادِ. Don't think that the support of Allah only comes in the akhirah. No, here in this dunya we shall see it, and we're already seeing it. As I speak to you now, our brothers and sisters in Lebanon, they're going back to their homes. They're demolished homes, but they're going back. I have not seen a people, a nation more resilient, more steadfast, more brave, and more patient and more faithful than these followers of Ahlul Bayt in southern Lebanon. Their homes are demolished, yet they go. They go back. They didn't waste a second. They went back to their homes because this is Jabal Amil. This is where Abu Dhar al-Ghifari walked. The companion of Rasulullah, this is where he walked. This is sacred ground. And look at the cowards that left their homes. Do you think they're going back anytime soon? No, because they're cowards. They don't have a cause. Their cause is destruction, to destroy others. Our cause is honor and dignity. Our honor, our cause is above any other cause. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says we will support you. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in tansurullaha yansurkum wa yuthabbit aqdamakum. O you who believe, if you support Allah, Allah will support you. Allah will support you. And Allah says, فَإِنَّ حِزْبَ اللَّهِ هُمُ الْغَالِبُونَ. This is the verse in the Holy Quran, that the party of Allah, they will win. They will be victorious. Anyone who stands with Allah. Hizbullah is anyone who stands with Allah and stands for the sake of Allah. They will be victorious. This is a divine promise from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we should never doubt. We should never doubt. You see, my dear friends, victory comes at a time when you least expect it. When you've lost all hope, when all of the odds are against you and your nation and your people, when the entire world is fighting you and arming your enemy and standing with your enemy in the media, in the UN, in the Security Council, they all stand with your enemy. When you least expect it, victory comes. Victory comes. It just requires patience. Allah says, حَتَّى إِذَا اسْتَيْأَسَ الرُّسُلُ. Allah is telling us not about John and Harry and regular people, messengers of Allah, prophets of Allah. When they lost all hope, حَتَّى إِذَا اسْتَيْأَسَ الرُّسُلُ وَظَنُّوا أَنَّهُمْ قَدْ كُذِبُوا, and they assume that خلاص, they've been degraded, they've been rejected. جَاءَهُمْ نَصْرُنَا. Our victory comes. Our support comes. Support, divine support comes from Allah when you least expect it. When you assume that this is it. It's over. For us, it's over. For the Shia, it's over. In Lebanon, in Gaza, in Iraq, in Yemen, it's over for us. No, never say it's over. Because Allah always has the last say, not anyone else. Don't ever assume that anyone else has the last say. It's always Allah that has the last say. وَلَقَدْ كُذِّبَتْ رُسُلٌ مِّن قَبْلِكَ. Allah tells the Prophet that prophets before you, they were rejected. فَصَبَرُوا عَلَى مَا كُذِّبُوا. They were patient over that which they were rejected. وَأُوذُوا. And they were harmed, they were bothered. حَتَّى أَتَاهُمْ نَصْرُنَا. Until our victory came to them. Until our support came to them. We supported them. لا مبدل لكلمات الله. This is the sunnah of Allah. Allah is telling the Rasulullah that this is what we shall do all the time. That our victory, our support comes when you least expect it. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Look at the lives of all of the prophets. All of the prophets. They lived difficult lives of rejection, of disbelief from their communities and their people. When they reached a time of despair, of losing all hope, that Allah will never support them, yet Allah supports them. Look at Musa alayhi salam. Nuh lived with his people 950 years. Yet Allah supported him at the end. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, 12 years in Mecca, 13 years in Medina, or maybe the opposite. So many years of persecution, of harassment. Yet it was 2-3 years before his life that there was the conquest of Mecca. Rasulullah went back to his city where he was persecuted in and he was harassed in. He went. Mecca fell to the army of Rasulullah. Rasulullah was the ruler of Mecca towards the end of his life. You see, my dear friends, Allah tells us that victory and support comes from Allah. You have to believe in this. You have to believe in this. Victory and support does not come from the UN, nor from the Security Council, nor from the ICC, nor from the President of the United States, or any other president for that matter, or any other king. It comes from Allah. Only Allah. We should only have hope in Allah. Don't say we wish this country stands with us, or that country, or this commission, or this president. No! These individuals are nothing in the face of Allah Azza wa Jal. All we need is for Allah to support us and for Allah to bring victory. Look, وَمَا النَّصْرُ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. Support only, illa. Allah says, expect support only from Allah. Don't expect it from anyone else. وَمَا النَّصْرُ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَكِيمِ إِنْ يَنْصُرْكُمُ اللَّهِ فَلَا غَالِبَ لَكُمْ. If Allah supports you, then let the entire world with their armies, with their defense systems, with their vetoing power in the United Nations, let them stand against you, you'll be victorious. But if Allah does not stand with you, if the entire world stands with you, you won't be victorious. إِنْ يَنْصُرْكُمُ اللَّهِ فَلَا غَالِبَ لَكُمْ وَإِنْ يَخْذُلْكُمْ فَمَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَنْصُرُكُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ. If Allah rejects you, then who do you expect to support you after that? وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلْ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Let the believers have faith in Allah. Let them have hope in Allah and no one other than Allah Azza wa Jal. You see, my dear friends, Allah says that sometimes I will support you even in your worst times. This is a lesson. This is a lesson. As an individual, when you're feeling down, when you're feeling upset, when you feel that the odds are against you, nothing is working for you, or as a family, or as a community, or as a state. You could be in your worst times. But if Allah decides to stand with you, the entire equation becomes flipped. Allah says, وَلَقَدْ نَصَرَكُمُ اللَّهُ بِبَدْرٍ وَأَنْتُمْ أَذِلَّةٌ. Allah stood with you in Badr while you were degraded, humiliated. How many people were in Badr standing with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? How many? 313. How many were the kuffar in Badr? 1,000. 1,000. They were outnumbered 3-1. Muslims were outnumbered 3-1. Muslims were 313. The kuffar and mushrikeen were 1,000. But who won at Badr? Who won? It was the mu'mineen. The mu'mineen. Rasulullah. The Muslims, they won, although they were outnumbered. Only some of them had swords. The others had sticks. Only some of them had horses. The others were footmen. They fought on foot. While the kuffar, all of them had swords, all of them had spears, all of them had shields, all of them had horses. And Badr Muslims were outnumbered. They didn't have weapons, but they had something more powerful than all weapons: their faith, their iman, their hope in Allah Azza wa Jal, their patience. And hence, they were victorious. The Quran tells us that the big and powerful don't always win. They don't always win. Sometimes I see people losing spirit. That what were our friends in Lebanon thinking? What were they thinking? What were the people of Gaza thinking? They're outnumbered. They're small. Obviously, the other side will win. They're big. Look at their weapons. Look at their technology. Look at their F-35s. Look at the thud that they have. The Quran tells us that sometimes even the biggest armies and the most powerful armies, sometimes they can lose. Yes, they can lose. Sometimes when you're outnumbered, your numbers are numbered, but you can win. It's not about the numbers. Allah says, كَم مِّن فِئَةٍ قَلِيلَةٍ غَلَبَتْ فِئَةً كَثِيرًا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. How many times? كَم مِّن. Allah is not saying this happened once or twice. No, many times did a small army defeat a larger army. How? بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. With the permission of Allah, with the support of Allah. When Allah is bringing you victory, yes, even if you're outnumbered, you can win. بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ مَعَ الصَّابِرِينَ. It just requires patience. It requires faith. It requires time. Some people, yes, what happened in Gaza? Why can't we see the results? Be patient. Be patient. You won't see the results now. Maybe we won't see the results, but our children will see the results. Maybe the adults in Gaza today, in Palestine and Lebanon, they won't see the results, but their children will see the results. It requires patience. Don't expect immediate results, that they fight for their dignity and honor, but they're going to see the results tomorrow. No, be patient. Wallahu ma'as sabirin. Allah says that if there are 20 of you that are patient, you can defeat 200, an army of 200. إن يكن منكم 20 صابرون يغلبوا 200. 20 patient, faithful individuals can defeat 200. And 100 can defeat 1,000. وإن منكم وإن يكن منكم 100 يغلبوا 1000 من الذين كفروا. Yes. An army of 100, if they are patient, if they are resilient, if they are steadfast, if they believe in what they're doing, if they believe in the cause, if they believe, they're influenced, they're not shady, if they're not sturdy, no, they know what they're doing, they can defeat an army of 1,000 and they're only 100. Allah tells us the story of David and Goliath. David and Goliath. وَقَتَلَ دَاوُودُ Jalut. Dawood was weak in comparison to Goliath, Jalut. Yet Dawood was able to defeat Goliath. The big and powerful don't always win, my dear friends. Don't think about it only materialistically. Think about it if Allah comes in, part of the equation. A lot of times we leave Allah out of the equation. Why? Believers always have Allah in the equation. And that's why the believers, they're not afraid of big and powerful armies, because they believe in their cause. And they believe what they're doing is right and just. They're fighting for their freedom, for their honor, for their dignity. Allah supports. Allah supports. Allah promises victory. سَيُهْزَمُ الْجَمْعُ وَيُوَلُّونَ الدُّبُرَ. Allah promises defeat for the enemy, but it requires time. It requires patience. سَيُهْزَمُ الْجَمْعُ. Allah does not break His promises. And Allah لَا يُخْلِفُ الْمِيعَادِ. Allah never breaks a promise. When Allah says they will be defeated, they will be defeated. When Allah says you will be victorious, you will be victorious. Just be patient. Wait. Wait for the outcomes. Also, my dear friends, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Some say, no, but our people suffered. The people of Gaza and Lebanon, they suffered so much. They faced so much death and destruction, their homes, their buildings, their children. They suffered so much. The Quran says, yes, you suffer, but your enemy also suffers. Your enemy also suffers. Don't forget that. You're not the only one suffering. They too are suffering, but they don't admit it. They don't show it. Their media doesn't show you destruction. They don't show you the pain that they're going through. Their media doesn't tell you their economic losses, because their people will be scared, because they will lose all hope. Their media doesn't show. They don't show the destruction. They don't show the losses. They only show our losses. But the Quran says, أَنَّهُمْ يَأْلَمُونَ كَمَا تَأْلَمُونَ. The same way you suffer, they're also suffering. The same way that you're in pain, they're also in pain. However, أَنَّهُمْ تَأْلَمُونَ كَمَا تَأْلَمُونَ وَتَرْجُونَ مِنَ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَرْجُونَ. Yet you expect a reward from Allah. They don't expect any reward from Allah. Do you ever see them speak of Allah, or Allah brings victory, or they speak in the name of martyrdom, or heaven and hell and qiyamah? No. That is out of the equation. The enemy doesn't believe in any of this. There's no heaven, there's no hell, there's no day of judgment. God is out of the picture for them, but not for us. God is in the picture. وَتَرْجُونَ مِنَ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَرْجُونَ. For us, It's a victory in both ways. If our people win, that's a victory. If they achieve martyrdom, that's another victory. It's a win-win. For the believers, it's always a win-win. The Quran says, إِنْ يَمْسَسْكُمْ قَرْحٌ فَقَدْ مَسَّ الْقَوْمَ قَرْحٌ مِثْلُهُ. If you have been affected today, they were affected yesterday. Don't think that you're the only one suffering. They're also suffering, but they don't show it. They don't talk about it. They're also suffering. وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. One day you suffer, one day they suffer. One day you win, one day they win. This is the sunnah of life. This is how life works. You can't win all the time. And you can't lose all the time. One day you win, one day you lose. Some days work with you, some days work against you. يَوْمٌ لَكَ وَيَوْمٌ عَلَيْكَ. Why? Why? Because Allah wants to test our faith. If we were to win all the time, of course everyone would be a believer. A true believer is a person who believes when I think I'm going through a battle right now with someone here. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. A battle over the microphone. If we were to win every day and believe, then this is not true faith. There are some people that only believe and have iman as long as they're winning. But if they're losing, they lose faith. Allah wants to test us. Allah says, one day you win, one day you lose, so that we test your faith and your iman. Are you true believers or not? وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ وَلِيَعْلَمَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Allah wants to see who's truly faithful and who's not. My dear friends, when a leader dies, we lost several leaders. In the past several months, we lost beloved leaders to us. Beloved leaders. And we cried for them. We shed our tears for them. And we're still mourning them. Till today we mourn them. But it is not the end. It is not a loss. Yes, losing them, this is a loss. But it doesn't mean we've lost the war. No. It doesn't mean it's over. It doesn't mean it's the end. In the battle of Uhud, Muslims lost a powerful leader, a very important leader, Hamza. Hamza, Sayyid al-Shuhada, the uncle of Rasulullah. He was killed, he was martyred in the battle of Uhud. But was it over? Was it the end for the believers? No. Yes, Uhud was a major setback for the believers. They were very depressed and sad for losing Hamza and for losing other leaders. But Allah tells them, وَلَا تَهِنُوا. Do not feel tired. وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا. And do not feel sad. وَأَنْتُمُ الْأَعْلَوْنَ. You will be victorious. إِن كُنْتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. If you are believers. The problem is some people are not believers. They don't believe in the cause. They say the people of Lebanon, they brought this destruction over themselves. They could have remained quiet. This is lack of faith. This is a problem. This is a lack of iman. Not having iman in the cause. Of saying why? Why did we do this? Why did they do this? Don't ask questions. Don't question the victims. The problem is when we start questioning the victims. Go question the oppressors, not the victims. Hamza died. In Uhud. Uhud was a major setback. And Muslims, they lost the battle, but they didn't lose the war. Ultimately, they were victorious. And they won. And look at Islam today. Look at Islam today. Allah tells them, don't lose morale, don't lose spirit, don't lose faith. You will be victorious. In the battle of Mu'tah is in Jordan. I've been to it, I visited. The battle of Mu'tah was in Jordan. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sent his army to Mu'tah. And interestingly, Rasulullah made the commander of the army Zayd ibn Haritha. And he said, if he dies, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, the brother of Amir al-Mu'mineen, he becomes the commander of the army. And if he dies, then Abdullah ibn Rawaha. You see, plan A, plan B, plan C. Mu'mineen always have plans, and I will mention this. They always have a plan B. We lose a leader, yes. It's very painful, but there's always a plan B. There's always a plan C. Don't lose faith. Don't lose spirit. Don't say this is over, khalas. It's the end. No, there's always a plan B, plan C. These three leaders, all of them, they died in the Battle of Mu'tah. Zayd ibn Haritha, he gave the banner to Ja'far al-Tayyar, Ja'far ibn Abi Abdullah, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, he died, and then Abdullah ibn Rawaha, and he died as well. All three of them, all three leaders died in the Battle of Mu'tah. And the Muslims, they lost the Battle of Mu'tah, but they didn't lose the war. They didn't lose the war. They lost the battle, but they didn't lose the war. Believers always have a plan B, plan C. Don't lose faith. Death is not the end, my dear friends. Death is not the end. When a leader dies, it doesn't mean it's over for us. No. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam was killed. He was killed by the Khawarij. Today, where are the Khawarij? And where's Ali ibn Abi Talib? Who really was killed and who really lived? Death is not just material. Don't judge victory and defeat over materialistic things. Yes, the loss of a life is very painful. The loss of a leader is very painful. But it doesn't mean that it's over. In Karbala, my dear friends, all 72 men were massacred and killed. No one remained. Imam Hussein and all of his companions were massacred and killed. But do we have a single doubt that Imam Hussein was not victorious in Karbala? Who was victorious? Yazid or Imam Hussein? Does anyone have a doubt? But no one remained. In Karbala, no one remained. Everyone was massacred. But look who's victorious and who's not victorious. Just look at the Ziyarah of Arba'in. Who many of you have been to and have come to. This year, I witnessed Ziyarah al-Arba'in. Tremendous heat. Yeah, you see the Zair, he comes to Karbala, walking from Najaf to Karbala. In the middle of the day, the heat is over 50 degrees Celsius, 55 degrees Celsius, and they're walking as if it's in the middle of winter, as if it's in the middle of spring. Tell me if this is not victory for Imam Hussein. And then go ask about Yazid, and where's the grave of Yazid? My dear friends, sometimes a leader dies, Allah sends a stronger leader. A stronger leader. This is our history, the history of Shias. Allah never abandons us. Yes, we lose a leader and it's very painful for us, but Allah sends a more powerful leader. And Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam was a strong leader. Bani Umayyah thought that by taking out Imam al-Hasan, it would be over for Bani Hashim. Allah sends Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Hussein who fought. Imam al-Hasan did not fight. Imam Hussein fought. When one leader goes, Allah sends another leader. مَا نَنْسَخْ مِنْ آيَةٍ. Allah says, if we take out a verse, we will bring a stronger verse, a stronger leader. You know, a lot of the displaced from southern Lebanon, from our brothers and sisters in Lebanon, Junub Lebanon, Beirut, they came to Iraq in the past 2 months. And I had the honor of meeting many of them, sitting with them, talking to them. And I even saw some victims of the pager incident. Remember the pager incident? Those who lost their hands and their eyes. I saw many of them in the shrine of Imam Hussein and in the shrine of Abu al-Fadl Abbas. I saw them in Karbala. Some of them were left with one finger only, or 2 fingers. They lost their fingers and they lost their eyes. They lost their eyes. I saw one of them in the shrine of Abu al-Fadl Abbas alayhi salam. And I saw him speaking along with a group of them, saying, Ya Abu al-Fadl, you gave your eyes and your hands, and we also gave our eyes and our hands. Were we able to repay you, Ya Abu al-Fadl? Were we able to repay you for what you gave. You also gave your hands and you gave your eyes. Consider this a gift from us to you. If this is not faith and resilience, then I don't know what is. I don't know what is. After going through all of this, yet having faith and not losing love, the love of Ahlul Bayt. You can lose your eyes, you can lose your hands, but you don't lose the love of Ahlul Bayt. That is something to treasure. That is something precious to hold on to. Why? Because the Ahlul Bayt, they gave all that they had. They offered it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They gave their eyes, their hands, their limbs, their ribs, their children, their fetuses, their babies. They gave them all for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. And in return, Allah has given them all of this love in the hearts of believers and mu'mineen. Tonight, my dear brothers and sisters, let's come and pay a visit to the house of Fatimiyya Zahra, salamullahi alayha. What did this ummah do to Fatimiyya Zahra? How did they repay Rasulullah for his services to them, 24 years service? How did they repay Rasulullah? Rasulullah, all that he asked for was love for my family. قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. Say that I ask for nothing in return for my services other than love for my kin, love for my family. Is this how they repay Rasulullah? The day that he is buried, they come to his house and they attack his house. If Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had told his companions that I want, after my demise, I want you to massacre my family, kill my family, murder them, can they have done worse than they already did? Can they have done anything worse? They come to the house of Fatimiyya Zahra on the day of the martyrdom of Rasulullah. After having Rasulullah buried, they come to Fatima's house. That man came with wood and fire, and they started threatening to burn down the house. They told him, do you know who's in this house? Fatimiyya Zahra is in this house. Rasulullah would not enter the house without seeking permission. Rasulullah would knock at the door before entering. Jibreel would knock at the door before entering. Yet this man barged into the house of Fatima, gathering wood and sticks and fire. قالوا له إن فاطم في الباب. They told him, Fatima is inside the house. قال وإن? So what? I will burn down the house. And he gave the torch to his servant Qunfud, and he told him, break the door. Qunfud breaks the door. Fatima was standing behind the door. Who is this? What do you want? He said, we want your husband Ali, tell him to come out. And he started to go inside. Fatima told him, I'm not wearing my hijab. Wait. He feels Fatima is standing behind the door. He crushes Fatima behind the door. And the nail pierces through her stomach and she aborts her fetus. قال سليمان قلت يا سلمان هل دخلوا ولم يك استئذان فقال إي وعزة الجبار وما على الزهراء من خمار. Fatima Zahra was not given a chance to put on her hijab before barging into her house. لكنها لاذت وراء الباب رعاية للستر والحجاب فمذ رأوها عصرا كادت بنفسي أن تموت حسرا. Fatima Zahra fell to the ground. She called for Fidda. She said, Ya Fidda, don't allow Ali to come to me. I only want you to come. I don't want Ali to see what has happened to me. Fatima Zahra sat behind the door next to the wall, having aborted her fetus Muhsin. She could only ask for help from Fidda. The men barged into the house. They put ropes around the neck of Ali ibn Abi Talib and they started dragging him to the masjid. This fierce warrior was dragged like a slave to the masjid of Rasulullah. Amir al-Mu'mineen sees the grave of Rasulullah. He said, Ya ibn inna al-qawma istad'afuni wa kadu yaqtulunani. This is a verse recited by Harun when he saw his brother Musa, that the son of my mother, look at what these people have done to me. They're about to kill me. Fatima Zahra comes after Amir al-Mu'mineen. She sees him being dragged by ropes. She tells the men that if you do not let my cousin, if you do not leave him alone, I will take off my hijab and the walls of the masjid will collapse. Sheikh Abdul Zahra al-Ka'bi, this famous reciter, this famous orator, I conclude with this. Sheikh Abdul Zahra al-Ka'bi, and one night he saw Al-Hasan wal-Hussein in his dream. They told him, Ya Sheikh, recite our tragedy. You've never recited our tragedy. He said, Yabnay Rasulullah, I've spent my entire life reciting your tragedies. They told him, no, there is a tragedy that you have not recited. He said, tell me the tragedy so that I recite on the minbar when I go on the minbar. They told him, we will tell you our tragedy when they attacked our house, when they attacked our mother Fatima, when our mother Fatima fell to the ground behind the door and she aborted her fetus. And they came inside the house and they put ropes around the neck of her father, Ali ibn Abi Talib. He was dragged. This is the tragedy. We did not know what to do, whether to stay with our mother or go behind our father. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. نسألك اللهم وندعوك. Raise your hands in dua, brothers and sisters. Pray for our brothers and sisters in Gaza and Lebanon. Pray for their well-being, for their victory. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العلي الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم اخذل الكفر والكافرين. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا عيبا إلا سترته ولا خوفا إلا آمنته ولا رزقا إلا بسطته ولا شملا إلا جمعته ولا مرضا إلا شفيته ولا غائبا إلا حفظته وأدنيته ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة لك فيها رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها ويسرتها يا أرحم الراحمين. ولأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والعلماء والشهداء نقرأ سورة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.